What if you held a counterfeit bill so perfect it fooled governments and even the Secret Service? This is the story of the Super Note, a fake $100 bill allegedly created by North Korea. It was a forgery so flawless, its only imperfection was being too perfect. This wasn't just a crime. It was an act of economic warfare that forced the US to change the very money in your wallet. To understand how a rogue nation could be accused of one of the most audacious crimes in history, we have to go back to the early 1992. The Soviet Union, North Korea's longtime sponsor, had just collapsed. The economic lifeline propping up the isolated state was gone overnight. What came next was a period of disaster, a brutal famine that North Koreans call the Arduous March. The regime was on the verge of collapse and needed cash, specifically US dollars, to stay afloat. But how could a country so cut off from the world generate millions? According to US intelligence, the answer lies with a shadowy organization, so secretive it's named after the office where it was supposedly founded, Room 3-9. It's said to have been established in the 1972 with a single mission: get foreign currency for the supreme leader by any means necessary. We're talking about everything from insurance fraud to, most ambitiously, counterfeiting the world's reserve currency. Defectors have claimed Kim Jong-il saw this as a win-win. He could fund his secret operations while simultaneously undermining the economy of his greatest enemy, the United States. While direct proof of production remains debated among experts, North Korea's role in distributing these notes is well documented. The stage was set: a desperate nation, a clandestine agency, and a plan to forge the perfect financial weapon. The first clue of this silent war didn't pop up in a high-tech lab, but on a bank teller's desk in the Philippines in 1989. A strange $100 bill was found. It just felt off to her experienced hands. She sent it to the US Secret Service, who initially sent it back, saying it was genuine. She insisted. On a second, more detailed look, they realized the terrifying truth. This wasn't a normal counterfeit. It was something new, something perfect. The Supernote had just made its world debut. So, how did they do it? How could a nation known for shortages and isolation produce a counterfeit that baffled the world's top experts? Well, according to intelligence reports and defector testimonies, they didn't cut corners. Creating a convincing dollar bill is incredibly hard. You need two things most counterfeiters can only dream of: a specific blend of cotton and linen paper, and a multi-million-dollar intaglio printing press. An intaglio press is a monster of a machine that uses immense pressure to force paper into engraved plates, giving a real bill its distinct raised ink feel. It's not something you can just buy online. The story goes that North Korea acquired a state-of-the-art intaglio press and sourced its ink from the same Swiss company that supplied the US government. While these claims are hard to verify, the results speak for themselves. They replicated everything, from the tiny red and blue security fibers in the paper to the watermark of Benjamin Franklin's face. And in a truly strange twist, experts noticed the Supernotes weren't just perfect. They contained tiny, deliberate flaws, almost like a hidden signature. These weren't amateur mistakes. They were consistent, subtle variations that set them apart. For example, on some notes, the hands on the clock tower of Independence Hall were set to a slightly different time. This detail sparked a wild theory that speaks volumes about the operation's audacity. The thinking goes that North Korea was branding its forgeries, marking its fakes, so it could distinguish them from other counterfeiters' inevitable copies of their superior counterfeits. It was a level of quality control for a criminal enterprise that was simply unheard of. With a near-perfect product, the next challenge was distribution. This is where Room 39's global network kicked in. North Korean diplomats were caught moving bags of cash across borders, and the regime allegedly leveraged international criminal syndicates to launder the money. the U.S. Secret Service found itself in a shadow war, launching sting operations with names like Operation Royal Charm and Operation Smoking Dragon. But for every agent they caught, millions more in supernotes slipped into circulation. The threat became so severe that in 1996, the United States was forced to roll out the first major redesign of the $100 bill in nearly 70 years. But the game wasn't over. In time, new supernotes began to appear that mimicked the updated design, proving just how persistent the counterfeiters were. This invisible war of ink and paper forced the money we use every day to evolve. But the US was about to make a move that would cripple the operation not with spies or guns, but with something far more powerful: banking regulations. If you're enjoying this deep dive into a conflict the world was never meant to see, hit that subscribe button, because we're just getting to the climax. For years, the US chased the physical notes, but the real breakthrough came when they stopped chasing the paper and went after the banks that helped wash it. The entire North Korean counterfeiting operation and much of its illicit economy needed a gateway to turn perfect fakes into legitimate funds. That gateway was an unassuming bank in Macau called Banco Delta Asia. For years, BDA had allegedly been a key financial hub for North Korean entities, accused of turning a blind eye to their corrupt activities. U.S. officials believed senior figures at the bank were working with North Koreans to accept large cash deposits, including supernotes, and slide them into global circulation. In 2005, the U.S. Treasury Department unleashed a powerful financial strike. It designated Banco Delta Asia, BDA, a small bank in Macau, as a primary money laundering concern under Section 311 of the Patriot Act. This wasn't a police raid or covert operation, it was something far more crippling. That designation essentially blacklisted BDA from the US financial system, cutting it off from dollar-based transactions. Almost overnight, confidence in the bank collapsed. Customers panicked. A massive bank run followed. The Macau government had no choice but to seize control of BDA, freezing $25 million in North Korean assets linked to illicit activities. Chief among them, the circulation of counterfeit supernotes. The impact was immediate and global. The Treasury's message was clear: do business with North Korea and risk losing access to the US dollar, the lifeblood of international banking. Banks across Asia and Europe began shutting down North Korean accounts, fearing secondary sanctions. The supernote operation, once thriving through global financial arteries, was suddenly suffocating. While not entirely dismantled, its capacity was severely diminished. These counterfeit bills, so flawless they could fool ATMs and even experts, relied on international movement. Without cooperative banks and shell companies, the laundering stopped cold. The BDA action became a turning point, a financial weapon more effective than arrests or raids. North Korea's lifeline to hard currency was severed not with bombs or bullets, but with the stroke of a pen. In 2005, when the US designated Banco Delta Asia a money laundering concern, it sent shockwaves through the global banking system. The move didn't stop the printing of supernotes, it made them worthless by cutting off the regime's ability to launder and spend them. The golden era of the supernote ended not with a dramatic raid, but with financial isolation. These near-perfect counterfeits, once capable of fooling experts and ATMs, were only valuable if they could move through international banking networks. By targeting those financial pathways, the US turned North Korea's own strategy against itself. The operation, though sophisticated, collapsed under the weight of a world unwilling to risk dollar access. It was a victory of policy over piracy, proving that in modern conflict, money can be mightier than missiles. Supernotes couldn't thrive in isolation. They needed laundering, access to foreign banks, and a network of complicit actors to transform fake currency into real value. Once those networks were dismantled through sanctions and sting operations, the operation's profitability collapsed. Estimates suggest that at its peak, The supernote operation generated roughly $15 to $25 million per year for the North Korean regime. While not the billions sometimes rumored in tabloids, this was still a meaningful stream of hard currency for a regime starved of international trade and foreign investment. After the 2005 crackdown and the designation of Banco Delta Asia, the operation was dealt a crippling blow. Yet, reports of supernotes didn't vanish completely. They continued to surface sporadically, even after 2007, a haunting reminder of the operation's reach and sophistication. Rather than give up, the regime simply adapted. North Korea, known for its ability to exploit loopholes in global systems, pivoted toward more modern forms of illicit revenue. Today, state-sponsored cybercrime, including ransomware attacks, crypto thefts, and digital bank heists, has replaced counterfeiting as a major financial engine. The game has changed, but the goals remain the same. Still, the legacy of the supernote endures. Look at a $100 bill today. The 3D security ribbon, microprinting, color-shifting ink, and hidden watermarks weren't just technological upgrades. They were responses to an invisible war. These features are the scars of a covert battle, fought with precision printing and secret diplomacy. They leave us with a chilling realization. If the world's most powerful currency could be counterfeited so perfectly, what other unseen conflicts are quietly reshaping the systems we rely on every day?